Hey, welcome to Hidden Indie Gems, where we embark on a journey into the vibrant world of indie gaming. Join me as we delve into the creative minds behind current and future indie games, uncovering what sets each one apart and makes it truly extraordinary. Today I got a chance to talk to Joe Hildreth, media director over at Acorn Land Labs. We talk about their upcoming game, Home Free. In this game, you can build real off-grid systems, trade with locals, build your community, solve mysteries, farm, garden, and be free. Now, this podcast has no sponsors and is 100% audience funded. If you want to support my creative work, you can buy me a coffee using the link in the description. Every dollar makes a huge difference. Thank you, and enjoy the show. So tell me again how Acorn Land Labs came together and how did you all get into game development?
My brother Kimball, he's the one that kind of spearheaded Acorn Land Labs because he's the one that began with the passion of off-grid living, homesteading, gardening. My world, I love media, I love entertainment, I love production, I love filming, I love editing, I love audio. And we thought about, we were already working together as brothers on a different project. And he said, hey, I want to kind of change this project into something that's more in line with my passion. And so we switched it over from what it was to Acorn Land Labs. And this is where we're going to showcase what he loves to do. Because when you're passionate about your work, the work is going to be so much more fruitful in terms of what it can do for you and also for others. I was working with some YouTubers up in Chattanooga. So these YouTubers, I think they're at 300,000 subscribers, and I had grown with them for a while, doing a lot of like video work with them. I learned a ton. So I already kind of knew how the YouTube game worked. So I came down to Atlanta. My brother and I, we hit the ground running. He had all the systems in place. I brought my production knowledge over. And then we just started filming and we started making content. And within 6 weeks, we had 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. We had 100,000 followers on TikTok, 100,000 followers on Facebook and on Instagram. So we had like 500,000 followers across the board in 6 weeks. What really helped Acorn explode the way it did was not only the knowledge of understanding how to blow something up online, but Acorn Land Labs is so unique. You have a lot of people that are into being off-grid just to get away from the world or because of that's the way they want their family to grow up, more isolated and just kind of protected. Then you have people that are into the off-grid tech because it's super sustainable and they like that green. Acorn Land Labs was never about leaning one way or the other. It was all about, hey, here's how you can live a more affordable lifestyle. And a lot of people, no matter their background or what their political thoughts were, they all just like, hey, it's more affordable. I like that. Bringing it back to Home Free. We wanted to get the message out there to the younger generation about how to live more affordably, how to live with sustainable systems, how to live off-grid. We built 2 systems for that. The first one is called the Land Lab Simulator. That's for people that they're ready to go off-grid and they want to go ahead and see how much it's going to cost them and what's going to have to go into it. Since that's for people that are ready for that, we needed something that was also just going to educate people and just get them excited about the idea of living off-grid or living more sustainably. And I love video games. And one of my favorite games is Stardew Valley, it's a great game. And so I was like, why don't we create a video game? So my brother Kimball, he kind of spearheaded the sim. I say kind of, he completely spearheaded that. I spearheaded my idea, like, I wanted to build a video game and I wanted to build one like Stardew Valley, but I wanted to make it very unique. And, I wanted to make it off-grid based, which Stardew Valley is not. I wanted to incorporate real systems that people can actually experience in real life. So there's one system called the methane digester where you input food waste and cow manure and the methanogens in there break down all the food waste and it releases methane, which goes to a cooktop burner where you actually have 2 hours of cooking fuel a day. So you're turning food waste into cooking fuel. And that's a real life system, but how fun would that be in a video game where it's like you're in this world where you're trying to live off the land and you have these cool systems that allow you to do it. So I was like, let's build Home Free and let's incorporate these real systems. So not only is it a fun survival, self-sustaining video game, which people love. It's also going to be about gardening, and it's also going to be about systems that they can actually learn about and go use in real life.
So I think we've already talked a little bit about Home Free and what kind of game it is, but do you want to expound a little bit more on the game?
The last thing I wanted was for the game to be boring. I think when you think about the word sustainable, it's sad. When you think of the word sustainable, you think of a lot of individuals that are protesting around the world and doing very immature things to just get attention. With Home Free, I didn't want it to be just a sustainable video game. People would be like, okay, they're either pushing an agenda or it's just going to be a boring game that's trying to like push the idea of going more green down my throat. That's not it at all. I wanted to take a fun fictional element, and I say fictional, this could actually happen, what I'm about to share, but I wanted to take some sort of fictional component to make the game more lively and fun, but the subject matter would be real. So the story goes like this for Home Free. Essentially, there's a solar flare, and the sun has solar flare-ups time to time. In fact, one happened like 6 weeks ago. This one, though, in the game, is so massive that it disrupts the magnetic field around the Earth, which then, by the magnetic field being disrupted, it disrupts the satellites. So all of a sudden, the internet goes down. So the internet around the world is wiped out because the satellites are all going down. The magnetic field is all wonky. So essentially, for 6 months straight, there's no internet. Because the world is so dependent on the internet, when it goes out for 6 months, the world goes into turmoil. Everything goes wrong. Governments collapse, people start freaking out. And I know that sounds extreme, but honestly, it's believable because right now, think about what would happen if the internet went down. All of a sudden, there's no way to communicate. So many everyday items would stop working because a lot of things are dependent on the internet. Something like COVID had people, trashing grocery stores and stealing and taking stuff and freaking out. So imagine if there's no form of communication on top of that sort of chaoticness. So anyway, in Home Free, internet goes down, everything goes berserk. Local communities have to band together to survive. So what happens in Home Free is it takes place 20 years after that event. So internet goes down. There's no more big governments. People have had to band together. There's no more because everything collapsed, there's no big companies producing gasoline and whatnot. So now you have to live in a solar punk world. And in this solar punk world, you have to go find old solar panels that were made before the crash, and you have to start using those for your energy. And you have to everyone has their own gardens now. And so you're left in this post-apocalyptic world where it's like, there's a lot of green technology that was left over before the crash that you're now having to utilize in this new world 20 years later. So all the bad stuff has happened. So when you're playing the game 20 years later, you're in this nice community where there's people that take care of growing. You have a group of people that are in charge of going out and hunting. You have the people that are in charge of cooking. You have the foragers. You have the people, you have not like a mayor, but someone who is over the whole thing, kind of making the rules for your community. So Home Free, long term, it's going to be a community-based game where you and online players have to come together to actually make community work. So you're going to have to, like I said, make sure things are growing, make sure you're hunting, make sure you're foraging, adventuring. But to give it a fun twist and element, there are groups, like little bands with a lead warlord, if you will. So there's these little pillaging groups where they're gonna, every now and then you're gonna have people come in, maybe steal some stuff or do negative things. So Home Free, it's real in the sense that the actual systems you're using are real, and that's the whole purpose of it, is to get people excited. But the story has a few fictional components to make sure it's still a video game and not dry.
Because I think there's a big fear with a project like this, is that you don't want it to just be a selling point. It's like, no, this is a game. This is the thing too.
I'll put it this way. I mean, if we had 4 hours, I could get into it with you, but I probably have 70 or 80 pages of just story. We were able to fund a $10,000 Kickstarter, and that was enough to fund the beta. And the beta is just a proof of concept to show individuals we can deliver on making a game. We can deliver on the mechanics. So the beta, it allows people to move the character around. You can fish. There's a little skill check to like make it hard to fish, kind of like Stardew. You have a cat and dog. You have an area that you can go sell or buy seeds. You can plant things right now. There's going to be a methane digester in a few weeks where you can start cooking and whatnot. The beta is just to show people that like we can deliver on home free because here's already a small version of it working and it's fun and it's engaging. But the full game we have in mind, I mean, we were quoted, I mean, 400 to $500,000 to get the giant game that we want it to be. We don't want to half bake it, so we don't want to just raise like 100,000 and have like a half decent game. Like if we're gonna do this, we want to do it right. We've added so many of our favorite components from other video games into this. One of the unique things about Home Free, eventually the full game, it's not going to be where there's one main character, kind of like Stardew Valley. You're going to have 8 different characters on your community that you have to swap between. Every character is going to have a skill tree, a character tree where you can upgrade strength and agility and intelligence. And there's, I mean, even to the point where a local community might want to invest into an apple orchard. So you can actually start investing in the game. So it's like, hey, I have 500 extra dollars. I'm going to give it to these farmers to help them. And now I get a 5% stake of what they sell from the apple orchard. We have a giant game plan with an insane storyline, an insane plot that's going through. There's gonna be so much adventuring. There's gonna be so much small mechanics. The hardest part for me is just like trying to get the message out there about how incredible this game is going to be. So I'm just going to have to work really hard on the marketing to show like, here's what's planned, here's what's going on, here's the beta, let everyone decide like their own thoughts on it. And then hopefully, get it funded. And then, I mean, it'd probably take 2.5 years to just develop it.
Is the beta available anywhere for people to get it?
Yes. So if you go to itch.io, that's itch.io, search bar on that website. And if you type out home free, one word, all lowercase, it will pop up. And it's a RPG, pixelated. It looks a lot. It's the same sort of format as Stardew. It's more of a proof of concept. You get in there and you're gonna notice like there's no story or there's no end goal. We're working on that to make the beta more of a loop. Our goal is to make the beta where like, hey, you have to get to $10,000 to pay off your mortgage on the land. So you need to start growing stuff, fish, you need to start trading. Then once you hit the $10,000, congratulations, the beta's over. So we're trying to get the beta to that point where there's an endpoint. Right now, it's just you move the character around, you fish for fun, you might plant a couple things. Like I said, it was we had $10,000 to work with and to kind of bring that beta to life. But what that was, it allowed us to build a great relationship with a dev team who, I mean, the guys are incredible. Their studio, it's Studio Cloud Gray, and they've done a few other things, but they're all in on this project. So anyway, we're excited about it.
Let's say the game's out and several people have this game in their hands. What are you hoping that they're telling their friends about it?
It's meant to encourage people to live the way that you live in the game. So people are playing it and they're like, hey, I see how working as a community, you can really come together. I love being able to be a little bit more self-sufficient. I love seeing how these systems actually work. I like collecting my own rainwater. I like seeing how much electricity is coming in. I like understanding how to garden. If individuals can take that away, that's already a win for us. In terms of a video game win, if people say this is the best freaking game I've ever played, then let's go. Like, there we go. That's a win. I love the creativity that comes from good story. And I want to take a video game and I want to inject all the best storytelling I possibly can with the best mechanics to make it something where it's not just a game where you get on to kind of kill time or, try to rack up in levels. It's like a game where you're constantly learning, constantly having fun, and you're constantly just blown away by all the minute details that are happening.
Where can people go find more information about the game?
So like I said, you can find the beta on itch.io under home free. You can go to acornlandlabs.com and you can learn about Acorn there along with Kimball and I. If you go to YouTube and look up our channel, Acorn Land Labs, you'll see a lot of what we do off grid, and you'll see us touch on home free time to time. On our website, Acorn Land Labs, A, you can find our contact information on there, so you can directly just email if questions about it. B, we're going to probably flush out a new tab on our Acorn Land Labs website, and that new tab will be labeled Home Free, and under that will just be all the information about Home Free.
Well, that's really, as far as the podcast, that's all the questions that I had. So thank you so much for making time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me on.
Hey, thank you so much for listening. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast so that you don't miss a single episode. Leave a review, share with your friends. See you next time.